We fixing to make this town real smoking.
The Cold War of Season 2 has begun. The Tekken players have realized the meta. The meta is to put all of your, balancing concerns, criticisms, and takes on Twitter, and the developers will see it, and that's the best way to make sure it's in the game. So let's start off with Arslan Ash. I'm happy that Arslan Ash put that whole steroid thing behind him. Players have seemingly truly forgiven him, and they understand. On some good news for Arslan Ash, you have this tweet where he says, just got my 1-year multiple entry visa. Now I can attend Evo France, UFA, and European tournaments without any worries. But then also something that they announced is a Pakistan versus Saudi Arabian tournament. This is happening on August 10th. I love what the Pakistani players are doing in terms of having separate tournaments going on, like Korea, Pakistan. Now they're having a Korea, Saudi. I love how it's not just the Tekken World Tour and EWC, but the Pakistani players. I don't know if they're setting it up, but it's kind of all revolving around them. But I love how there's these other tournaments to get the players excited. But Khan said they are cooked. Raf says Pakistan is carried by Atif and Arslan. We have guys that already beat them. You'll see. Farzin says, I hope you perform well so we don't have to hear you cry again about how your character isn't good. To be fair, Raf was doing a whole lot of Jin downplay at the end of season 1. And, people don't be forgetting. But the reason why we're talking about this is because the current update and what Arslan says. Arslan says, I'm glad Brian finally got nerfed, but let's be real, it's not enough. His wall carry into wall combo is still insane. His installs are overloaded, and taunts need to be toned down. Hoping for more balance next patch. When you do talk about, installs, how Arslan Ash was previously saying that, installs is something that if your character has, it's an advantage. If you don't have, you're kind of at a disadvantage. Jod says, bro, stop. They're coming for Nina now. Arslan Ash says, let's play Anna then. And that's the thing, too, about Arslan. Arslan is not afraid to change. He will change characters in a heartbeat. You said Arslan's opinion is irrelevant. I kind of disagree with that. Arslan has had a big impact in Tekken 7's balance, and he's trying to have that same impact in Tekken 8's balance. And the reason why we're going to take a look at what Nee is saying is because everyone is now realizing the new meta that is. When people shout for nerfs to certain characters on X, it actually ends up happening. Honestly, even when others were voicing their opinions, I stayed quiet. But after seeing the latest balance patch notes, I was disappointed. In previous versions, I constantly said on my personal stream that there was no need to play any other character, just Nina or Anna was more than enough. They're both extremely strong, so from now on, I will speak up more often. So he's basically seeing how all the people who are crying on Twitter, their changes are making their way into the game, for better or for worse. And now Nee is saying, okay, instead of just yapping on my stream, I'm going to start putting out some tweets. And then he says, please nerf Nina. Honestly, in Season 2, she's much better than Brian. Namco's balance team shouldn't listen to absurd opinions from people who don't play Brian, but still demand nerfs. I have played both Nina and Anna extensively, and this is the conclusion I've come to. Both Nina and Anna need further nerfs. It's interesting how Nee is saying to nerf Arslan's character, or characters that Arslan and the Pakistanis play, Nina, Anna, and then Arslan is saying to nerf Brian Fury, the character that Nee plays. I don't know if that's they're trying to have each other's characters nerfed, but just looking at, who can't come to that conclusion? Nee's the Brian, Atif's the Anna, Arslan's the Nina. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a nerf war. Fee says, were pros able to get feedback in previous Tekken games? For example, Tekken 5, Tekken 5 DR, Tekken 6, Tekken 5 BR, was pro feedback able to be provided? If so, maybe more pro voices are needed before Season 3. I spoke to a couple of pros, Mike ATL, a couple other people, and they all were talking about Zaibatsu Discord. I can't remember what the term is, but back then there was this website that acted as a form of Twitter, and the developers would interact that way. Now, I don't know how far back this go, but it definitely existed in Tekken 6 and Tag 2. Tekken 5, I'm not sure what they did, but we also know that the developers walked around tournaments and arcades and got feedback that way. That's something that Harada has previously said, that since they don't have arcades, it's a major detriment because they used to go to arcades and get feedback. Imagine you're in there button mashing arcades and Harada pops around the corner. So what are you doing? Nee says, it wasn't what it was back then. The Tekken scene was small. And that's the thing too, right? The Tekken scene was always pretty niche. It wasn't that many huge voices. You didn't have 300,000 subscribers, 30,000 followers on Twitter. It was so small. And when you talk about that one website or arcades or tournaments, you were speaking to like the same group of people more or less. And, it wasn't as hostile. Nowadays, when you put something on Twitter, someone is going to respond that you never even knew existed. Back then, someone would respond that you played before in tournament. So that connection, that relationship will just make the conversation a little bit more reasonable. Falcon trailer had only around 700,000 views. Only, bro said only, like that's a low number. Well, is that a low number? At the peak, there was 9,701 players. There's 7,151 players, right? So you can see at the start of season 2, it was 16,000, and that number completely fell off, and it was in the low 500s, kind of going up, low 600s, and then now they're back up. If that uptick can hold, then Tekken will be cooking again. Isn't that a low peak for a new update and character? So that was 9,700. This is Clive, which was 11,000. This was Heihachi, which was 14,000. This was Lydia, which was 13,000. So yeah, it's a low peak in terms of, the DLC overall. But I mean, you got to take what you could get. Season 2 is in a rough spot. So if we can carry this momentum, think about what will happen with Armor King comes out. And this update's good. I've been watching you for a year now. Bro, I hope at the end of the day, this game recovers. And if it doesn't, I hope these devs learn from their mistakes, even if it seems impossible. Have a good day and take care. Nina is protected by Bandai Namco. They nerfed Zafina because she's an easy target for them. In the next patch, Brian is getting nerfed because Nina players are favorites to Bandai Namco. You do have to talk about the Jin favoritism, the King favoritism, if we are believing what this person says about the Nina favoritism. I think Alyssa has a lot of favoritism. I mean, some people say that should exist, but are those people the people who play those characters, or are those people like just players? I do think that the characters on the cover of the game should have some spice to them, but not enough to where it should have a major influence on the balancing, right? Nee also retweeted this. Nina really needs way more nerfs. Power Crush nerf was good, but her dumb one-sided gameplay is the same. Anna needs more too, but that goes without saying. The 3 strongest characters in the game, who was it? It was Nina, Yoshi, and Dragunov. Dragunov is destroyed. Same thing with Yoshimitsu. Some people are still saying Yoshimitsu is like top 15 in the game, and fair enough. If you feel that way, you feel that way. But Nina is still like top 5. Nee retweeted this, by the way. I think there's not even a single bad matchup for Nina, except a little bit Yoshi. This character is just too strong. Usually when people are complaining about a character, I always try to like take my own personal bias out of it, because I know Yoshimitsu gives a skewed matchup. Like I was doing some testing with Fakaram yesterday. Yoshimitsu had an answer for almost everything, right? And that's just because the flash, the spin, his toolkit is so unique, but you also need to balance him accordingly, right? You can't give him solid traditional tools because he will be a monster then. Take a look at season 1. But in terms of Nina, I was thinking the same thing. Like, Nina's not really a problem for me like that. She's kind of powerful, but she's not a stomper in the way that I would think of it, but maybe that's why. You have this tweet here from Blau. Agreed. I'm going to play Nina as a second main. She is so easy and rewarding, poking all the time. So basically, with all of these tweets here, Nina is basically dead, and they're going to kill her in the next update. And when that happens, I'm expecting a celebration from the great Nee. I don't understand why players are coming at me. I've never strongly called for nerfs to Anna on X, but why didn't they say anything about the tweet that called her a top 2 character and demanded nerfs? It just doesn't make sense to me. Let's be fair. And this is the thing, right? Didn't Arslan tweet that Brian Fury and Anna are the strongest in the game? But according to Nee, that tweet didn't get backlash. But him saying what he said, we just read the tweet. People were breathing down his neck. Ryujin says, don't listen to randoms. They are fuming while the character is still overtuned for various reasons. And this kind of goes back to what I was just saying. Like, when you say something on Twitter, random people are going to respond and they're going to be angry. 80% of the X user base is brain dead. D says, I'm realizing that. Thank you. All of the tweets you have seen was from a couple of hours ago. And since then, Nee has apologized and changed his mind. He says, I want to apologize for my tweets yesterday. Today, I was about to make a post about a specific character, but I suddenly thought, what am I even doing? I came to the conclusion that I don't want to be someone who acts like that. As a professional player, I believe it's our job to prove ourselves through skill. I'm not going to cry about nerfs or call a character top 2 and demand changes. That kind of stuff is childish. Also, if my post ends up influencing a nerf that could upset or disappoint people who enjoy that character, right? So I'd rather not do it. Yesterday, my post was made in a moment of anger and I regret acting on impulse. I sincerely apologize for that. The reason I've been staying quiet about balance lately is because I want to trust B&E approach to it. But seeing how complaints on X about certain characters or moves often lead to actual changes in the next patch, I don't think it's a healthy direction for the game. Still, I do hope things improve, and above all, I hope everyone can enjoy the game. In my opinion, the developers are supposed to have an idea of what they want this game to be. Yes, they wanted this game to be offensive, that's not working out, but they should come up with a plan, an idea of how they can incorporate defense and not just listen to random sporadic tweets from players, because if you think about it, we struggle to comprehend what they're doing in the updates, and that's because they're just following the whims of random tweets. So this is a pretty interesting turn of events from Nee, but it also shows his maturity